Now, I'm like the #1 Dunsparce fan in A. I've been wanting this Pokemon to get an evolution for a very long time. Pretty much since like 4th generation when I saw all those other Pokemon from previous generations get evolutions. It's like, why not Dunsparce? I mean, you'll give Lickitung an evolution, you'll give Gligar an evolution. Why not Dunsparce? And I've always been specifically thinking like dragon typing, you know, there would be nothing more fitting than Dunsparce, the Pokemon that's looked down on, that people don't even care about at all, to get this metamorphosis into the strongest typing in the game, and then become a dragon typing. So naturally, when I saw the new Pokemon, it kind of got the one brain cell in my head to just kind of light up for just a second, you know? It wasn't much of a thought. It was a very fleeting, very back-of-the-mind thought, and then I noticed the typing. A normal dragon typing Pokemon. Dunsparce is a normal Pokemon, which means if it evolves it, it gets normal dragon, but there's no way. There's like no way. This isn't that similar to Dunsparce. And just by looking at this, you know, it creates the ultimate split in my head. Like, I know that realistically the odds are not 50-50, but it's like a 50-50 in my mind. That my brain is at war and it's completely divided as to what to think about this. And because that's like, alright, maybe the odds are super unfathomably low. Maybe the odds are so low that there's not even any chance that this guy can evolve from Dunsparce to begin with. And then, you know, I looked at the comments section, and I'm not alone. Don't fall into confirmation bias. Don't fall into confirmation bias. Damn it. So many people are also commenting this as well. Like, this isn't all the Dunsparce comments. It's not like I just kind of found the few and made it look like a lot. No, there's a ton of people that are thinking the exact same thing I am, that this new Pokemon's like, what about Drampa? Is there even a chance or something like that? So, I want to spend the rest of this video just kind of making the comparisons and understanding potentially why people could think this, because I think it's in everyone's mind. It's like a fleeting thought and depends on how much you want to crush it. Me being a Dunsparce fan and having it be my 3rd favorite Pokemon, it's like, maybe there's something to this. First off, we can look at the coloration, because Dunsparce isn't just a yellow and white Pokemon, it also has a teal color to it. What is the primary body color of Drampa? That's teal, and it also has the yellow eyebrows. So, I mean, the colors are there. It's white, blue, and yellow, and what we can also see is that this Pokemon in the trailer has mid-level 40s, so we encounter it probably very late in our adventure. I wouldn't be surprised if this is supposed to be like, you know, a pretty solid Pokemon hanging out in the Victory Road, you know, just dragon type, good stats, high level. Heck yeah, and also when we look at Dunsparce, it hasn't evolved yet, so maybe there's a good chance that it could get either 1 or 2 stages added to its evolutionary line, that this could realistically be, you know, evolves at level 40, 42, 40 something, and then that'll be the 3rd stage, and then Dunsparce evolves at like level 28, then 42, and that makes a lot of sense. So while this is kind of a stretch to see occur in 1 evolution, maybe it could happen in 2 evolutions. And again, the reason why I used Gligar as an example from earlier is that's a pretty big jump as well. So I mean, even Dunsparce could somewhat realistically evolve straight into this Pokemon through some means at some level for some reason. But there's more to it. Like, another part that really got to me is that when we look at the wings on Dunsparce, like, it doesn't have necessarily wings, it just has these little flappy things. But that's very similar to the color and the style that we get out of Drampa here. Especially its hands. Like, this almost seems that, you know, the little wings on Dunsparce's back or something, it could become some kind of hand-like appendage, and we can see that when Drampa, you know, he's holding his hands close to his chest, and it has, you know, the same kind of feathery look to it, and just like little army things that are pretty awesome and make him seem just a little adorable. But another idea is that when we look at the face is another big part. That the face kind of has an empty stare. Dunsparce doesn't really have too much emotion in its eyes, but I think one of the big reasons that, like, it sets it off in the back of your mind that, wait, what if this is related to Dunsparce, is that it has that derpy kind of look to it, you know? There's a bit of silliness inside of it, but it feels similar to Dunsparce, and maybe that's why, you know, if it became some kind of old sage-feeling dragon, that it could realistically get some kind of these traits and feel like Dunsparce in that way. Now, there is just a great chance that this is our evolutionary dragon for the Alola region, and it's completely isolated from Dunsparce, you know? It's kind of like the Goodra, the Flygon, the whatever it is, so it could just have high base stats. I don't know if it's as ferocious looking to be a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, but at the same time, you know, Goodra doesn't really look like it would be a pseudo-legendary beater like it is, so maybe that's a possibility. However, is there also the chance that the pseudo-legendary Pokemon could get a pre-evolution from a different generation? Maybe there's something about the Alola region that causes Dunsparce to evolve under different conditions. That's how they got away with it in the 4th generation. It's like, hey, guess what? This mountain didn't exist in the Kanto region, so that's why we never saw Magnezone. Same with Johto and Nosepass, that, you know, these specific requirements haven't been met, so maybe there's something crazy about the Alola region, and the reason why there's so many rare Pokemon, or whatever about the habitat, that actually unlocks even a full evolution chain throughout Dunsparce, you know? I'm not using this as evidence, but I'm saying that's why there's possibilities here, and even the tail, like, the body shape is another big one. Like, you look at Dunsparce, it doesn't have feet, and this Pokemon doesn't look like it has, like, feet or legs or anything. It just kind of shuffles about, just like a Dunsparce. So, I mean, it moves, it looks, it feels, it has similar colors, it has similar, you know, body structure and wings and all kinds of little appendages and stuff that really work it out. The tail is the only thing kind of different that, you know, Dunsparce goes from some kind of burrowing tail twisty shenanigans into fluffy tail. Bit more of a stretch. I think, like, the tail would be the biggest thing, like, out of all this. Out of all I've said, like, the tail is the hardest sell, but I mean, we've seen Pokemon gain and lose tails throughout evolution, so yeah, like, think about Kadabra. It has a big floofy tail and even learns Iron Tail, but Alakazam, no tail to be seen, can still learn Iron Tail. Alrighty then. So that's what we have right here, guys. Like I said, I didn't want to make a video about this. I was really thinking about, like, is there something here? But then I decided, it's like, you know what, Dunsparce is one of my favorite Pokemon, and I'm really known for, like, the Dunsparce love. I have a Dunsparce plushie, I gave it a lot of extra love and care in the How to Use series, and I've also made strategies specifically around Dunsparce. You know, it's like the Drifblim and Baton Pass. That started because I want Dunsparce to work. I've probably put, like, some of the most competitive time into getting Dunsparce to work. It has Serene Grace. Imagine if it gets faster or more stats, and then you can Serene Grace it with Rock Slide. I mean, this could be the next Scarf Kiss in a way, and that would be pretty cool. Or maybe it just does something else. Like, I've always looked at, like, okay, if Dunsparce gets an evolution, that means Eviolite works on Dunsparce. Freaking cool. And also, that means Dunsparce gets better stats, so if it goes into really crazy stats as well, like, imagine Dunsparce with a 600 base stat total. That Pokemon will be hella viable, especially if it keeps onto its Serene Grace and has Rock Slide or something like Roost, Serene Grace, Rock Slide, maybe some kind of power-up move or something like that. And then you could Paraflinch while also being fairly tanky and doing fairly crazy amounts of damage. And, I mean, I thought Dunsparce was good before, so a Mega or some kind of evolution would work. Now, I did just remember that Drampa is shown to have a new ability in the trailer that something activates whenever it's hit by something, and it's called the Frenzy ability, and then it ends up getting special attack when either in critical or, at this time, we don't know if it's, like, super effective or critical. However, this, in a slightly weird way, depending on how much you look into it, could also help define, like, help relate it to Dunsparce. First off, Pokemon get, like, 3 abilities, so maybe its hidden ability is something else, and then the secondary ability is Serene Grace. Like, we don't know the secondary potential ability, so it doesn't rule it out right there just because we see an ability happening in the trailer. Other one could be Serene Grace, we don't know. However, Dunsparce gets Rattled as a hidden ability. Now, Rattled, while it doesn't really act like the Frenzy ability, what Rattled does is that if you get hit by whatever Psychic-type Pokemon is weak against, if you get hit by, like, Bug, Dark, or Ghost typing, your speed is going to increase by 1 stage, and that's an interesting little ability right there. However, it seems similar to the Frenzy ability, if you think about it. Like, so what happens is, like, you get hit by either a specific kind of move, or whenever you're put into some kind of, like, critical state, that's when you start gaining stats and stuff. So, receiving damage, getting an ability proc is kind of similar to Rattled, and I mean, it makes sense. When you look at the design of this Pokemon, it seems like it doesn't want to harm you. You know, it's a little reserved, it's a Dragon-type Pokemon, but if you bother it enough, it's going to go into a frenzy, and it's going to start unleashing its power. Rattled, while not being similar to that, it has, like, the same kind of mechanics though. You know, it doesn't want to be pestered. Don't bother the guy because it just doesn't want to bother you. And maybe that could also relate to Dunsparce in some kind of really weird way. Or maybe there's an ability overhaul. Who knows? We've seen Pokemon have abilities change. Now, technically, Chandelure had the Shadow Tag. It wasn't released, and then it got a new hidden ability, Infiltrator, in future generations. So it depends on, like, released versus unreleased, but overall Dunsparce might get some kind of change that makes it a lot more viable. Or even then, Frenzy could have nothing to do with Dunsparce, but there's still the other ability that, like, could be Serene Grace or something like that. It wouldn't make sense on on a hidden ability now that I think about it, because Dunsparce has a non-hidden ability, Student Greatest. But that's kind of what we have. Also, I wanted to look at the stats just a bit more. Dunsparce has a 100 base hit points. If it evolves and gets like into 120s, 140s, and then like maybe 80s or 90s on defenses, oh, that'd be absolutely amazing. Because like I'm just looking at this from a Dunsparce evolution. I like Roost. Any Pokemon that gets Sustain that's tanky is an amazing Pokemon. Now, I don't think it'd get too much extra speed. Like, really, that's the only problem with Dunsparce. 45 base speed is too slow to Scarf. But, I mean, if he gets pushed up in, like, 70, 80 base speed just from having pseudo-legendary stats or something like that, that could be pretty cool. And we don't even know about, like, we also don't even know, like, even if this guy isn't related to Dunsparce, that's some craziness. That if you can intentionally proc a Frenzy with, like, Choice Scarf or something and then just mow down entire teams, it's going to be viable regardless. So, Drampa's a cool Pokemon. The more I talk about it and the more I look into this, I'm like, it'd be awesome if he's related to Dunsparce, but even if he isn't, I'm still going to like the guy. And depending on how competitively viable, maybe just try to break it intentionally, you know? That's what we got. So I think that's all that there is to say. I didn't want to talk about the other Pokemon because they don't interest me as much. Now, Cutiefly, if it evolves into something like a third stage Quiver Dancing Pokemon, that could be pretty nuts. I mean, also has the Fairy typing, so I mean Draining Kiss. So you double Quiver Dance, Draining Kiss, and then you have mad amounts of sustain while also having mad amounts of special defense. Cutiefly's evolution could go off if it does get that Quiver Dance, and it seems like a Pokemon that would get it. But other than that, you know, never been like a huge Pinsir Heracross fan, so Volcatic, I think is what it's called, Volcaelectric, whatever. I don't even pay attention. We got 7 new names out of nowhere. I haven't memorized them all just yet. It's still hard for me to pronounce Drampa from time to time. But, you know, the other Pokemon, the Triggerfish doesn't really do too much. I already did my discussion video, so watch that if you want my opinions on how I feel about those and just kind of the breakdowns right there. The Dazzling ability is cool, but other than that, I'm really, at this time, all my attention is on Drampa, hoping to be Dunsparce, but also Popplio maybe doing some things, and then Pick-a-Peck seems like it could be pretty awesome as well with, like, just ultimate shenanigans on Skill Link. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like. Let's shoot for positive likes. Verlisify Nation now over 170,000 dislikers. You see what I did there?